listening to Sasquatch Syndicate.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard.
And all the ape believers don't want any of the paranormal believers to say anything because they're all whacked and screwed up and we don't want them. And all the paranormal believers don't want, they're going to the ape believers saying, well, you're all closed-minded. You're not open to the fact that it does this and it does that.
And I look over my left shoulder and this creature is running through the woods and it's bulldozing the brush down. And I knew, man, this thing is going to get me.
Welcome to Sasquatch Syndicate. I'm your host, Chuck, out in Seattle, Washington, along with Paul in Portland, Oregon. Thanks to everyone for listening and those following us at SasquatchSyndicate.com and on our social media outlets. For those participating in the Sasquatch Syndicate monthly t-shirt giveaway, this month's winner was Leona Plizka from Bristolville, Ohio. So Leona, thanks for listening to the show, and please check your Facebook for winner notification. So happy September, everyone. We hope everyone had a great summer and everybody's back in the swing of things. We've got school, fall, and football. That's a great combination, and it's absolutely beautiful up here in the Pacific Northwest. Albeit we could deal with without the smoke from the fire. So if I sound nasally, that's what that's from. I just also wanted to do a quick shout out for those down there that are dealing with Hurricane Harvey in Texas. Thoughts and prayers coming out from the show and all of our fan base in your quick and speedy recovery. So before we get rolling tonight, just a few updates. The team's been really hard at work on the new website. That's been in production for about 6 months. We were getting ready to release it, but then we had a major outage a couple weeks ago. As you guys know, when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, our hosting company was out of Houston. And so a little discouraged, but with setbacks come progress. And so this bumped up our timeline on our new website release. You can check that out at SasquatchSyndicate.com. Super excited how it turned out, especially the new faces section. And for those that have not been out to our website, that's one of the things we're really known for, is just super easy, clean to use website, covers all the topics, and there's a lot of great information out there. Also, I just wanted to reach out to everyone and say thank you for supporting the show. There's a few ways you can do that. Of course, number one is just listening. So we really appreciate for all of our listeners out there, and really appreciate your patronage over the years. And also, we just wanted to thank everyone who donates to the show. We are a nonprofit. Every dollar helps. And there's a lot of easy ways to donate. First, you can go out to our website and click the donate link. You can click the Amazon gift card link, buy yourself or a friend an Amazon gift card. They send us a small percentage and it costs you nothing. And another way is simply just to go out to our store. We've got a lot of new items out there and a lot of new swag. So if you want to pick up some Sasquatch Syndicate gear, that also helps us as well. So thanks again. We really do appreciate it. So on to this month's podcast. With us tonight on Sasquatch Syndicate is Anita Rivard. She's from the Fraser Valley area up in British Columbia. Anita's had a few encounters in the Fraser Valley area over the years, and she wished to share those. Anita's kind of a quiet person, but we were able to get her to come on the show. So Anita, thanks for coming on. And if you could maybe share a little bit about your background and really where all these encounters happen.
I grew up I was born in McBride, and I grew up mostly around the Fraser Valley and around the Cusp area. And my first encounter, I was 16, was on holidays in Canmore, Alberta, up in over the old coal mines are. It was broad daylight, and I was just wandering around the valley, and I thought it was a man at first, sawing a log. And when I took another look, it definitely was not a man. I couldn't see it properly, like really clearly, but it was a very tall being that was very hairy, and it was just leaning on the log. And then from that moment, I kind of like freaked out, and I ran back home, which because we were pretty close to the mountain range there. but the smell, I could smell edge. And it kind of scared me because I never encountered nothing like that. I was only about 16 then.
And you said you saw more than one there?
No, that was one. And then at Hope, what's it called, Lake of the Woods area by the dump. I was squatting in the bush down below by the dump in the trailer. And that's my other encounter. And my wolf pup come running in and hid under the bed. And I went outside and went, what the heck is out there? And I said, oh my God, it's a bear. And I grabbed the binoculars and I watched it was a Sasquatch. There was no word of lie on that. It walked from tree to tree like a human being and was tearing the old bark off. And when it turned around and looked at me, I seen its face. And he was definitely a Sasquatch. It was broad daylight.
So how far away from the creature were you at that point?
Maybe a block.
Did it seem to be startled when it looked back at you, or was it just?
No, it just continued on. And the funny thing is, I can't remember anything else after that.
So Anita, in that entire Fraser Valley, of course, there's also a lot of. So Anita, of course, in the Fraser Valley, Hope and Chilliwack, there's a lot of wildlife there. But I was just curious, did you have a lot of interactions also with black bears up there?
Yeah, this wasn't a bear. Bears, when they walk on their hind legs, they kind of shuffle from side to side. And this wasn't a bear because it turned around and I had binoculars. And I was like almost face to face with it.
So Anita, in kind of thinking back, just about the dimensions of the creature you saw, were you able to devise about the average height of the creature?
I'd say maybe 6. I don't know. I'm not good with that. But it was like I'm only 5'5", and this thing was huge.
When it turned around and you got a look at its face, can you describe any of the facial features, perhaps how wide the mouth was or what the neck looked like or possibly ears?
No, I can't remember. That was way back. Kind of looked almost like the face of a monkey, kind of, but not a monkey.
Was the skin a certain color?
Dark skin, and the fur was kind of like not curly or wavy a bit. It wasn't straight. And then I had the other encounter was same area, just a different part of the dump, and it was just becoming daylight, and it still you could see it was just daylight. And way at the back of the dump, I could see 3 of them walking up the. You'd have to be there to be able to explain it properly.
So you said you had binoculars on some of these sightings? Yeah.
Yeah. And I had somebody else with me, and they grabbed the binoculars at the time when the creature turned around and looked at me. And when he looked, he was terrified the other time.
So when you saw the 3 creatures, how far away from the creatures were you at that point?
Say 3 or 4 blocks. It was more like a silhouette. Kind of at the distance they were, but there was 3 of them, different sizes. One very tall one shorter, and a younger one, I would say, a bit younger.
So Anita, there's obviously a lot of listeners out there. So Anita, of course, there's a lot of believers and listeners out there that have never had an encounter, but can you share a little bit what was going through your mind when you saw these creatures?
I thought it was awesome. I didn't feel threatened. Just with the first sighting, and when the one turned around and looked at me, kind of startled me. But I have a sense of feeling that they're always around there.
Did you feel like that they were just out gathering for food, or what did
Yeah, that's what I would get. I think so. The one that was making the trees open, I thought it was just looking for grub. It was all rotten trees, ripping off chunks and tearing the tree apart. And it seemed to go on to their business and don't bother you, as long as you're not bothering them.
So what were your thoughts on, these creatures before you had your encounters? Had you put much thought into them?
No, I thought it was just a hoax.
And certainly we've interviewed a lot of people in the First Nation tribes up there, and really none of them have ever described them as a bear, more like a hairy man.
Yeah, that's what they remind me of, kind of like a man just covered in hair. Kind of like, can't explain it.
Yeah, no worries. We know it happened some time ago. So, Anita, when you were having your encounter, was there anything else that really kind of caught your attention? Did you pick up any additional smells or odors?
It's like somebody needs to bathe your bath quickly. Like they never bathed or wiped themselves.
Anita, is there anything in your personal life that you can kind of relate the smell to?
Oh, I don't know. Because the mix of smell, the dump, and that, it doesn't smell like death or nothing.
So as you were observing these creatures, did they seem to carry themselves with intelligence, or did it just seem more kind of instinctual, kind of like a bear would lumber around or something like that, or did they seem to have an intelligence about them?
Well, I think they have intelligence. Personally, I think they do.
Why do you say that?
They look just the way they walk. They walk like humans. These three I see were walking just like, I would say, a mother, a father, and a child. And the female, which I'm assuming is the shorter one, in the middle, was holding the smaller one's hand as they were walking out the insane into the distance. And they just disappeared over the hill.
Anita, were you able to kind of, look at the physique? I mean, did the creatures look fit or muscular to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely get varying degrees on, the body type and, really kind of the physique, so to speak.
They look athletic. They're not like overweight. They're not overly muscular. They're not lifting weight, but they are fit. Does that help?
Yeah, and as you were observing the creature, were there any like physical characteristics that really just stood out at you that just, it didn't make any sense,
Well, the arms are longer, taller than a human.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious, on the one that you had the close encounter with, if you observed, again, any features that were just out of the ordinary.
Longer arms, hands are bigger.
So their arms, how far down would you say that the tips of their fingers were? Was it kind of mid-thigh or farther than that? Or about where did the end of their arms actually orient with their body?
Yeah, above the knee about 4 or 5 inches. It's not hard to tell.
We've talked recently to several witnesses. We had a guy named Mike who came on. He had an encounter back in Yellowstone when he was 13 years old. And he didn't want to come out on the air, but he just had mentioned that it really did help to talk about it and kind of, think back through that encounter. But how has it affected you, and how does it feel to relive it?
Oh, I'd like to do it again. Be able to see them again. But when I found your website, I didn't even know you guys were out there. I thought, well, this is interesting, because I think that there's lots of things that we don't talk about and is out there, and it should be talked about.
Well, I totally agree. I think in a lot of cases, and I'm not sure how you feel about this, but in a lot of cases, I think, people may see something and actually misidentify it in the wrong direction. Perhaps they saw a Sasquatch and it was actually a bear, but it's just really difficult for your mind to wrap around what you're seeing. So as you were observing these creatures, what was going through your mind? Was it having a hard time wrapping around what you were seeing, or did you think instantly that this is got to be a Sasquatch? There's nothing else that fits that frame of reference, or what went through your mind as you first saw them?
Well, I absolutely thought they were Sasquatches. I've been around enough bears in my lifetime to know that the difference between a bear on its hind legs and what this was. They stand differently too. Bears are a different shape, different form. And bears will stand on their hind legs, but they don't walk from tree to tree to tree. They kind of would shuffle. I would think, anyway.
Anita, did you notice when the creature was standing there, if it was shifting side to side? It just, kind of curious, if it was stationary or kind of what it was doing.
It shifted a bit, like a little. They don't walk like a human would walk. They kind of shuffle a bit, but not like I've seen a bear walk on its hind legs. And they have a bigger shuffle. But this thing, when I see it, they kind of sway when they walk. These were the three that I see.
So, Anita, in terms of just food sources, and certainly, a dump's an easy scavenger kind of low-hanging. So, Anita, in terms of food sources, and certainly, a dump is, low-hanging fruit to any scavenger, but you had mentioned earlier a little bit about, potentially seeing one of these creatures foresting through a tree for food. Were you able to see what it was potentially after, like grubs or worms, or what was it that you were looking at?
It looked like it was tearing the bark open and the rotten wood looking for something.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to know, too, what bears are after up there, because the food sources are probably similar, worms and grubs and termites, you name it. Those trees are full of them.
Yeah, it could have been worms or something in the wood. Beetles. But it was so close to the dump, too. I don't know what's around there. There's lots of... It's funny because there's a part of the dump that when you walk, it's like something's dragged all the meat or whatever people throwing out, carcasses and stuff, all in this one area. It's just bone after bone after bone after bone.
So as you see that, were there any teeth marks in the bone, or were they mainly just kind of pulling the meat off the exterior of the bone?
I didn't see them eating, but I found all these bones just scattered everywhere, hundreds of them, in a certain area of the dump, and they were picked clean. I don't know if they ate them or something else ate them, but there was an awful lot of them. And another part of Hope, my girlfriend told me they were Sasquatches screaming. And it sounds kind of like a gorilla or a monkey making that ooh sound, and then just lets out this blood-curdling screaming sound. I don't know what it was, but she said it was Sasquatch. I don't know. We don't have monkeys in BC, so I don't know what that was. It was, oh my God. She made a good imitation of it too. I couldn't believe it. But I'd never seen what made that sound.
So, Anita, would you mind sharing a little bit about the Hope and Fraser Valley area? Anita, can you share a little bit about the Fraser Valley area, just kind of what that, geography is like and really what the area is like in general?
What's it like?
Yeah.
It's a mountain range. Lots of mountains. There's lots of bears, lots of bush. And it's kind of like settles in a little valley.
And how populous is this area, in terms of kind of where you had these? Or is it pretty rural, or?
It's a very small town. Very small town, Hope is. But where the dump is, it's about 12 miles or 18 miles out of town. And it's very unpopulated there. There's just a small trailer park there. And then in Silver Creek, where I've seen something else that I can't explain. Still to this day don't know what it is, but they were kind of like they looked like Sasquatch type creatures, but they were red. Me and my friends spotted them, and we tried to climb up closer to them, and they would just retreat. So I don't know what those were.
Yeah, that whole area up there, and I know that there's actually some provincial parks up there and whatnot. Was that near any of those areas up in that area?
It's like it's out of town, and after Lake of the Woods, it's a bit of a distance to another little town after that. Kind of like off the beaten track a bit, and there's reservations around there. So I think it's all probably native land, I believe.
So, Anita, of course, Paul and I have been up to the area, and certainly, it's very densely wooded. But I was just curious, were there a lot of game trails up there?
A lot of people don't climb way up there. Pretty bit dangerous from the rock side. There's lots of caves.
So, Anita, I know that the audio kind of broke up there, but you had mentioned caves. But can you talk a little bit about what you've seen up there?
And so they formed caves.
So, Anita, in terms of what you've seen, did it look more like an igloo made of sticks or kind of like a dome shelter?
Yeah, but at the dump, I don't know what goes behind the dump. A lot of bush there.
So thinking about the landfill, like what types of things were dumped there? Just household?
It's closed now, so I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, everybody's town's garbage. There's old furniture, empty old freezer, meats out, stuff like that. So it's probably a good place to find food for them. Where it was, but that's been shut down now for a while, I believe.
So I know you had a friend of yours have, hear something near Silver Lake there. How many people do you know? Is it pretty common for individuals in that area of Hope, the Fraser Valley, and the Sasquatch provincial area to have had encounters like this? Do many people talk about that?
No, not many people have. There's only been me and another guy, and another friend of mine mentioned he found something that looked like some kind of a animal nest area or something across Silver Creek. He found a cave that was filled with all kinds of hair and material, but he's passed on now, the man. Yeah, I never seen that.
Yeah, I know that Silver Lake is a extremely remote area, so I could definitely.
Creek. That would be Silver Creek, just out 2 clicks out of town of Hope. There's another little community, but there's a lot of bush out there. And he crossed the Silver Creek somewhere. I can't remember where, and he said he found a nest in the side of the riverbank, and it was just loaded with some kind of animal fur, and it just reeked. He said it's like something was nesting there. It could have been a bear, though.
Wow. So what are your thoughts now? When you go out into the woods or into a remote area, how does that make you feel? Do you have any concern that those creatures might be out there, or how do you feel about that?
I have no fear of them whatsoever. For some reason, I think they're telepathic. And I think if they had a fear of me, they would react. And I think that they know, I don't know why, but that's what I think they're more intelligent.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, your audio just broke up. Could you just repeat that and kind of pick it up again?
The internet here, my phone. Can you hear better?
Oh, yeah, I can hear better now. But, yeah, if you could just pick it up again where you were saying that you felt like they were telepathic. We've heard that from a lot of folks, but, yeah, if you could just repeat that. Your audio broke up just a little bit.
They are telepathic. I think they don't show themselves to everybody, especially if somebody's going to be harmful. Or I think they know just by they can smell you. I'm sure of it, too.
Just kind of have a sense about you. So did you ever have any sense that they were communicating with you in some way, or was it just a sense of peace that you had about the whole situation?
I felt at peace, actually. I didn't have any fear of them. Maybe the first one I did, but the second I just found it amazing to be able to experience something like that.
Yeah, I just think it would be such an honor to see something like that.
So, Anita, in terms of, this sighting with this creature, did you get the feeling that you were in any harm? And certainly, out on our website, we talk about, collective consciousness and all kinds of theories about, extrasensory perception that very similar to an animal, Sasquatch would know if you had any ill will. But since this was a peaceful encounter, do you believe that it knew that you had no harmful intent?
That's what I think, too, because otherwise the thing would have flipped out or something if it's a wild animal, you know what I mean, or something. Anything that's going to be non-human animal form, I guess they're mammals or whatever, they're going to react in some kind of anguish or fear or run. These things weren't running and they weren't retaliating on me, or they just went about their business, and I just kind of just watched them and let them do whatever the hell they were doing.
In terms of the dump you were talking about, and it's closed now, but did they build something back over it?
I haven't been back there since I moved to another town. So I don't know what they've put there now.
Interesting.
And maybe, for our listeners, you could explain a little bit about the Hope, Chilliwack, Fraser Valley area, but certainly dense with a lot of, Sasquatch lore and legend.
Absolutely. There's even a statue right downtown. What do they call them? Shapeshifters, I think. There's we used to have a pub there, the Sasquatch Inn, and actually in the farther down the highway there is.
So as far as the locals there, in that whole Chilliwack and Fraser Valley area, what does everybody think about this subject of Sasquatch?
People don't really talk about it. The natives believe in it, I know that.
The natives, yeah, definitely. Do you have any acquaintances from any of the tribes, and have they told you any stories or encounters they may have had?
No, nobody told me nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever been to a town hall, but, once one person stands up, other people come forward and share that their encounter, and, as brief as it may be, it's still an encounter, and, details slip over time. But really appreciate you sharing your story, and maybe it'll influence others to come out as well.
I've tried talking to other people about it, but they think you're freaking nuts. People think you're nuts. And I think some people, the ones that do get to see them are selected by the beings themselves somehow.
And certainly there's a lot of belief systems out there. However, there's a prevailing theory that if Sasquatch feels that you don't have any harmful intent, it doesn't see you carrying firearms, that you're more likely to have an encounter, and that the creature would, of course, show itself to you. I was just curious kind of how you felt about it.
That's what I think, too, because otherwise more people would be seeing it, I would think, or you would see them more often. Or not unless you're right into the vortex area, where they slip in and out. And I had one native guy come up to me, and just after one of my experiences, and I was crossing the Fraser River, and he walked by me, and he just, this big smile, and he says, "You're a shapeshifter." And I'm like, what? I don't even know what that meant.
That's really interesting, because, again, as Chuck had mentioned, some folks believe that, this sentient being has the ability to judge character, and perhaps that native was able to, judge your character in a sense, and I don't know, I would take that as a compliment.
It weirded me out at first, but I'm getting used to weird things happening to me. So. And I just think it's an awesome experience. I'd like to be able to do it again, but not in this town.
do you
I want to go live with them.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about how you feel about Sasquatch? Anything more about your encounters that may have bubbled up in your memory?
Not much. I just think they're another intelligent life being from some other dimension or another planet or something. I don't think. I think they somehow can just appear and disappear.
That would really explain how a lot of folks have some disbelief because a body's never been found. But if you're able to travel through dimensions, cloak or uncloak, and have a level of intelligence, I can see why no body has ever been found. That makes total sense to me.
No, that would make sense to me. I don't think they're stupid. That's for sure. If they were like a dumb animal, then we'd see a lot more of them, and they would be able to, people see more of them and find things. I think they just only here for a mission. That maybe where they come from, there isn't much food, and they have to come through their gateway. That sounds so ridiculous, to be able to feed, and they've probably been doing it for years and years and years. Maybe we're just not looking in the right places or looking for the right things.
Or maybe they're just not allowing us to see them.
Well, I think that's a bigger possibility.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, in terms of what science is discovering about what we don't understand. Even, over in Europe at the Halon Super Collider, they're starting to see other dimensions and potentially, portals and other things that this superconductor can actually create. So it's probably pretty fascinating about all the things about the world that we really don't know.
I doubt that one bit. If we're the only intelligent life being, I think we're doomed. I think there's definitely more out there. I've seen too many unexplainable things.
Well, I tell you, this has been absolutely fascinating. I want to thank you so much for your encounter.
You're welcome.
I would love to see, it'd be great if you could email Chuck the picture of that map with some of the X's on there. And okay. I hope you'll tune in to other Sasquatch Syndicate episodes, and hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you very much.
This concludes our September 2017 podcast. Sasquatch Syndicate will return on Saturday, October 1st. Thanks to all our listeners and those that have been out to our website and those following us on social media. Sasquatch is a controversial subject, so for all the believers and disbelievers and those that will tell you they have all the answers, just remember we're flying through space at 700 miles per hour. Buckle up.